happy Saturday. Merry Christmas in July. Merry Christmas in July. Hi, Daisy. Okay, so we are going to work on the Christmas in July album, but we have a problem. And the problem is that I set up the spine as if I was attaching the bags one way. And the way that I was planning on attaching the bags when I set up the spine was like this. So let me show you. Oh, yesterday my finger, I did a bunch of research and I found a really, really highly rated nail salon. I went there just to get a manicure on my 9 fingers to cut those nails back. And they wanted to look at the messed up finger. And they had at least 3 different people looked at it and worked on it. And then like almost everyone who worked there at some point stopped by to stare at it. But what they did was they used a tiny pair of clippers to remove way more of the nail than had been removed in the first trim, or that I was able to get cut off myself later. And including they were able to get off one side of it. So I said tore in from both sides. It tore in from the left side and the right side, and they were able to remove the entire torn portion on the right side. And then they took nail glue, which is the same thing as, it's the same product as super glue, and it's the same product as surgical glue. They're all the same thing. So they took nail glue and they glued all the other torn pieces down to the undamaged part of my nail that's like growing out of my finger. And then they glued a piece of acrylic to my untorn nail over all the torn pieces to glue it all together. And then they covered it with polish. So you can't even see the gross part, because the gross part is the nail bed. That's what looks gross. But I have to tell you guys, I'm in like 90% less pain, I would say. Because I think what was causing the pain was all the little broken pieces of the nail shifting on my finger when I was moving or touching things, or things were bumping it. Like anytime I bumped it or touched it or anything, it was hurting. And now it only hurts if I really put pressure on it or try to use it to do something. Like if I tried to use it as a tool, that would hurt. Or if I really put any kind of, like if I put strong pressure on it, like if it got squeezed. But it mostly does not hurt now. It mostly does not hurt now. So I'm going to go back, I think, just like once a week until it's all grown out, just to make sure everything is okay under the polish. Like I don't want the polish to just sit there and cover up. Because you can see, once the polish is removed, you can see the nail bed and everything. But it's not hurting me at all. Really. And like I said, unless I really, I can make it hurt if I really push on the nail bed. But so I think it was the pieces, what was hurting so much was the pieces of the nail that were loose, poking the nail bed that was damaged. So now I can pretty much use my hand almost normally. So it really helped a lot. It took forever. It took a really long time. But they were really careful. So hopefully it'll be okay. We'll see. Yeah, Lori, I was worried about that. Particularly infection with the nail bed. So I'm gonna, if it starts to hurt at all, I'm gonna go right back over there and be like, okay, take off the polish and let's look at it. Because I don't want anything to happen with it. But, it was like, not to be overly dramatic, but just, it was such a tremendous inconvenience just to deal with it, with keeping it taped and keeping it covered and keeping the bandages covered. you know, so, and it almost looks the same as all the other ones. It's a little bit wider, you know, it's like fatter than the other ones, but other than that, it almost looks the same as the other nails. Like, I think you really, it's not too, you have to kind of be looking hard to pick out which one is the one that got messed up. This is the one that got messed up. But I mean, as far as the quality of life improvement, it's so good, you guys. It's so worth it. It took forever. And I was really worried, but they were very careful. They only hurt me twice. And it's not like, you know, from getting too close to the part of the nail bed that was damaged or like lifting the nail funny, only twice. And I hurt myself more than that, you know, and I knew it was messed up and what would hurt it. So they did a really, really good job. They're very, very highly rated. So, like I said, if it starts to hurt at all, I'm going to take it in. I think I'm going to take it in once a week anyway to have the color change, just so they can look at it and keep checking up on it. Plus, I want them to keep cutting it. You know, like I want them to keep cutting it as it grows so that we can, you know, because that still has to happen. The broken parts have to come off. So, all right. So that's the update on the nail. So it's good news right now. You know, I was nervous about it, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm hoping that this is, you know, also, you know, waterproof. So the nail bed's protected now. I didn't notice, like, when I was washing my hands or whatever, I didn't feel any water getting in there or anything. I think it's probably fine. So hopefully it will all be good. Fingers crossed. But like I said, if it starts to hurt or does anything weird, I'll just go right back. Okay, so the issue with this book is this. When I set up the spine, my intention was to stick the paper bags on one bag per spine, okay? So I was going to stick them like this. So, you know, I was going to spread this little foot back here and glue it to either side. And then what that would do is make a little small page and a big page on each spine, each fin of the spine. Instead, what I did is I glued 2 bags together on each spine, on each fin of the spine. Okay, so let me show you. So instead of doing this, I did this. And the problem is I now have twice as many spines as I need. So there are 2 ways to fix it. One is we remove the 2 bags that are on here already. Okay. We take these bags off and we just redo everything as single bags, which would mean unhooking these 2 bags from each other and unhooking these 2 bags from the spine, separating them, and maybe doing some minor changes to like the cards or whatever. The other option is to remove 3 fins, or 2 fins rather, right? 2 fins? No, 3. To remove 3 fins from each side of the spine so that they only have 3 fins, which would mean cutting the spine, taking out 3 fins, and then cutting the decorative spine, taking out a section, and then gluing, you know, like a bonding strip to it so that there would be like a stripe on the outside of the spine that was holding the 2 sides together. Now, I think that structurally the best thing, the thing that would be the strongest, would be to take off the bags and do the bags. That's probably the easiest. I don't know. It's probably the easiest as well, is to do the bags. So, I think that's what we'll do. Because there's a lot of math involved in Plan B. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with my delaminating tool, which works almost never, by the way, and see if I can start to pull these 2 guys apart. All right. So this is actually not going too badly. All right. So we've removed that first bit, and now we have to get in here in between these two guys. Wow. This particular batch of Miracle Tape has just been intense. So this just gives you an idea of, if you take the time to really put your Miracle Tape down well and burnish, it really is intense. All right, and so now we have to pry apart the bottom of the bag. Okay, so we've got the bottom of the bag pried apart. And let's see. I'm going to try and just remove the foam tape here. And what I'm doing is I'm just lightly scoring the cardstock to kind of cut through the top layer of cardstock that this is taped to, so that I can then just peel it up. So hopefully it'll, yeah, that's working. All right, so it peeled off the top layer of cardstock that was stuck to the tape, but we're doing okay with damage. It's not too terrible. So you'll get to see me do some repair work here. We have a little bit of a lift on this edge, so I'm just going to add some glue. All right, not too bad. All right, so we've got the bag removed, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this back just a little bit so I can get some tape in here. I'm going to put tape along the edges, and then we'll put tape on the fin and then stick it back in. All right, so I'm gonna burnish and flip it over and burnish. Okay. And before I do that, I'm gonna just put some pattern paper, just a little scrap of pattern paper right here. just to cuten it up a little bit. So just go into my tiny scraps and see what I think would look better. I'm going to use this. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape on here. And I'll put tape on the edge of the cardstock. Ugh, that's annoying. Okay. All right, so Gretchen is here, but she's on the treadmill, guys, so she can't talk. She's got to focus. Okay. So, you know, repair work is not always the most exciting thing, but I think it's good to see because, you know, it gives you ideas if you guys ever mess up. I mean, I know that it's very rare for glitter gods and or goddesses to mess up. But were you the unthinkable to happen, and perhaps like you sneezed or something, okay. So now I'm just going to go through and just cut around it. And give it a nice burnish from both sides. And then ink the edge. Okay. All right. So now that that is fixed, we're going to stick it down to the first fin. So I'm going to put tape on the first fin, retape it. The tape just tore a piece off this. We'll have to disguise that later. Or maybe I can get it off. Okay, well, I got part of it off. So I'll glue down the part that I got. Oops, I just dropped it and lost it. Oh no, it's stuck to my thumb. Okay. Whew, I was like, where'd it go? Okay. Got that down. So we're doing all kinds of repair work here, but Oh no, this has got to come off because it's hanging off the wrong edge. Okay, that's fine. Oh, I almost grabbed the blade of my knife. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut through the paper around it, and then we'll just put a new piece of paper on this. Good morning, Ella. Did you guys see in the Kathryn Scrappers Facebook group that Fran already made the spine of her split decision album? So she's not even pretending to care anymore about what I do. She's not even pretending anymore. She's just doing what she wants. I am doing well, Ella. I was telling them at the start of the show that I went yesterday. I read a bunch of reviews for nail places and found the best one in my area, and I went to go get my 9 other nails manicured so that they would to cut them back since I broke the one, and they wanted to see it to see if they could fix it, and they thought they could fix it, so I let them try, and it feels way better since they fixed it. They cut off as much as they could without hurting me, and they cut, and then they glued what was left. They glued that all together. And then they put an acrylic over it to hold it all together and glued the acrylic to my nail, the undamaged part of my nail. And it hurts way, way, way less. Like before, it was hurting if I touched it, or if it, like, even putting on my clothes or reaching into a drawer. I mean, there was so many ways that I was hurting it, like, just on a day-to-day basis, and it was very, very irritating, very painful. And now I mostly can just use my hand like a normal hand. Mostly it doesn't hurt anymore at all. It really only hurts if pressure is put on either the very tip of my finger or like the top through the nail. Yes. Apparently people drive from all over to this place. And it was not too far from my house. So that was nice. So until it's all grown out, I'm going to try and get there once a week and have them change the color and take a look at it and see if it needs to have any more work done on it, that sort of thing. So we shall see. All right. So now we are fixed. I mean, we're going to have to do something about this. And of course, we'll have to do something about this. But for the most part, you know, we're fixed. Oh, I was wrong. This part could have just stayed. All right, so I'm just going to glue this guy back down in a slightly... Yes, I broke the nail in the nail bed. Yes, I tore the nail bed. Actually, it was bleeding really bad. It was gross. It was disgusting. And they couldn't remove the whole nail, like, you know, like they were showing me parts where they were like, there's no way we can take this off. And I was like, that's fine. I didn't think you could take off the whole thing, you know. Because if you guys recall, I was told it would be months before the whole thing could be removed, the whole broken area. So it's not like I was holding that against them. All right, so this is not going to work. I thought it might, but it's not going to work. So that's fine. We'll just put more new paper down on top of it, guys. Not that big of a deal. Okay. All right, so one thing I'm thinking now that I've got this bag in is maybe on the backs of these we put a little pocket that looks like a little tiny bag, a little tiny cardstock bag. So let's set that aside for a second. Let me make my cardstock bag so I don't have to worry about this like getting everywhere. And let's take some measurements. All right, so the foot of the paper bag is 2 7/8 by halfway between 4 5/8 and 4 3/4. So I think what we'll do is we'll do 2 7/8 times 2. We'll find out what that is. Okay, 5 3/4 is a lot bigger than I think it needs to be. I don't want the top to stick up all that much. So let's just do 2 7/8 by 5. Okay. Now, all right, so we need our piece to be meh. 6 1/4 wide. Tall, if we're going to do it 5, have the whole bag be 5-inch. Hold on a second. Let me do a little. Let's have it be 5 1/4. 5 1/4. So 6 1/4 by 5 3/4. 6 1/4 by 5 3/4 is what we need to make these bags. And I'm going to need to make 2 of them. All right, so we want the whole thing to be 2 7/8 inches wide, which means 2 7/8 divided by 2 is 1 7/16, which is 1 1/2 basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the center 1.5 inches over. And then I'm going to put that line at the 6 inches and go over to 8 7/8, because we know it's 2 7/8. And then I'm going to turn it to the 5 3/4 inch side, and I'm going to score at 5 1/4. All right. Oh, and let's do that twice. So I scored it at 1.5. Then put that at 6 inches and score at 8 7/8 on the 6 1/4 inch side, and then on the 5 1/4 inch side, 5 3/4 inch side, score at 5 1/4. And this should give us two little guys, two cute little bags. We should be able to make 2 cute little bags out of this. Thank you, Judy. Yesterday I did a bunch of research and found a really good nail place, and I went to have my 9 other nails done so that they would be shorter while this one was growing out, and they wanted to take a look at the broken one to see if they could do anything with it. And they thought they could make it better or less painful. So like I said, I had like 3 of them work on it, and a bunch of other people stopped by to look at it and kind of like talk about it while I was there. But they cut off a lot of it. They got a lot more off than had gotten when we first had it looked at, and then when we had trimmed it, and they got way more off. They had the tiniest little tiny clippers. And all right, so yeah, these are going to go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the envelope punch board, and then the parts that they couldn't cut off, and then line up the score lines in the center and punch. The part that they couldn't get off, they glued all the edges back together with nail glue, which is the same thing as super glue, which is the same thing as surgical glue. They're all the same product. And then they put an acrylic tip over the whole thing. But they glued the acrylic tip to the undamaged part of the nail. Well, I mean, they glued it to the whole thing, but they glued it far enough down that it was stuck to the undamaged part of the nail, not to the damaged part of the nail. But anyway, it makes the pain way, way, way less. Like 90% less pain. Like, it's a huge quality of life improvement. Huge. So, yeah. Because I think what was causing all the pain was the broken pieces of the nail shifting and poking the damaged nail bed, and now they don't move anymore, you know? So I think that made a big difference. So now it only hurts if, like, I press on the tip or I press on the nail. So my life has been changed. My life has been changed. All right. So now what we're going to do, all right. Nail pain is just awful. It was, the last week has been horrible. So I'm so glad. So I'm going to keep an eye out for, you know, if it gets infected or something. If it starts to hurt at all, I'll go back. Since I can't see it anymore, you know, I can't check on it. And then I think I'll go back once a week anyway, just to remove the polish, have them remove the polish and take a look at it and see if it can be trimmed anymore or anything like that. So I'm cutting the corners. But yeah, it made a huge difference. I'm pretty much almost back to normal. Like I told Mr. Lifeguard, it was just unbelievable how much of like a psychic weight, you know, like a psychological weight was being caused by the nail. Because like last night, just lying in bed, there was so much less tension. You know, I wasn't worried I was going to get it tangled in the sheets, you know, or anything. You know what I mean? Like it's been so, I didn't realize how much of a constant weight it was, if that makes sense. All right. So, and then we're going to tuck this up. Okay. So now we're just going to cut this tab and this tab. So I'm going to line up the divots. Yeah, but it was just like a huge weight on my mind and I didn't even realize it. You know, so anyway, whew, I'm glad that's mostly, I mean, it's not behind me because I still am going to be dealing with the nail itself for like a month and a half. But, you know, like it's a lot more behind me than it was. Okay, so we're going to have this go down here. And see, it is poking up. It's going to stick out of the top of the book. I don't mind that. That type of thing does not bother me. My only question is, should we do like a little half punch here? What do you think? Should we do a little half circle? Yeah, I think this is just a little tight. So let's do a little half circle punch. I'm going to use the template I have for a 1-inch circle punch, I think. No, that's kind of small. Let's see, 1.5. Yeah, I think we'll do 1.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up, the template I have. And if you want to make a template like this, just punch a circle out of a piece of cardstock. It's not anything radical in terms of ideas. Okay. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trace it with pen. And then I get this punch 1.5 inches. And I'm going to do this side first. And I just notch it out. And then I'm just going to go back over here and finish the circle and notch this one out. Okay, so when they come together, they make a perfect half circle. Okay, these templates are part of the Something to Brag About album, and these templates are honestly probably one of the best things I've ever made. Which is dumb because they're just cardstock templates, but of all the things I've ever made, I use these so much. And what they are is, I showed you guys how to make a set of templates for a 4x6, a 4 1/4, and a 4 1/2 that all are graduating in size, because this is the pocket, this is the photo mat, and this is the photo. And then they all, see how the circles nest? The circles all nest. And I showed you how to do landscape and portrait, and they're probably, I mean, like, yeah, I use them all the time. But yes, there's a lot of math, see it, drawing and stuff that we did, but those are so useful. And the reason they're useful is because if I want to put pattern paper on this, okay, because which one did I use the 1 1/2? Yeah. So I would just need to get a 1 3/4, and use it to bump it up. So I'd have to do some math because I used the largest one, which was maybe a mistake, but whatever. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line of tape on the top of this edge and a line of tape on the bottom on the underside of that edge of 1/4 inch tape. How did my desk get so messy, guys? Welcome to everyone, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see you on this Saturday while we make some crafty goodness and Mr. Lifeguard does the lawn. And then here we'll also put tape on the bottom of this guy. Okay, so on the inside it's tape here and here, and then on the outside it's tape here. All right, and then it'll get folded together like this, and you see how the two tapes form a continuous tape to close that seal. That's what we want. Where are, my desk is a mess. Okay. What the heck? There we go. Hello, Heather. Very good multitasking. Very good multitasking. Okay, so now the only thing is if we want to put pattern paper here, which I think we should, this is the time to do it, like while it's not stuck down. All right, so I'm just eyeballing it because that's what I do. All right. Yes, this is the Christmas project. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit, just so I kind of have a better idea of what all of its dimensions are. Hopefully I didn't make it too short. Oopsie. What? Why are you stuck to my desk? Ugh, there was a piece of tape stuck to my desk that it got stuck to. I have adhesive everywhere. I think that little corner is going to get cut off, so I'm not too worried about it. Hopefully there's not a bunch more tape stuck to my desk. All right. So now I'm going to stick this down. If you don't want to eyeball it, you know, you could probably just do 2 3/4 because this is 2 7/8. Yeah, that part's totally getting cut off, so no big deal. The 6x6s. So that's why I like the 13x19 paper, because you can really do a lot with it if you have the ability to, you know, manipulate files and stuff. Like I used Photoshop Elements for that. Okay, so that's cute. So see, that's how it's gonna look. just going to ink the edge. I think we need to put pattern paper on this. Even though it's cute with the little seam, I think it would be cuter with pattern paper. What do you guys think? Maybe this green. I have it somewhere. Which means I'm gonna have to make a 1 3/4 inch template. All right, so I'll make a template for these envelopes. So this piece is, we know it's 2 7/8. So the part that we'd actually be sticking down, okay, 4 1/4. So let's make, so we would cut our paper, our 2 5/8 by 4 1/4. Is she gonna make them for all the other ones? Oh, 4 1/4 is gonna be just a little too short, guys. We can't do 4 1/4. We're gonna have to do 4 1/2 at least. So 2 5/8 by 4 1/2. She wants to, okay. Yeah, 4 1/2 is what we need, guys. Yeah, because then when we fold this bottom piece up, it'll cover the pattern paper. All right, so this piece is 2 5/8 inches by 4 1/2. This is for the patterned paper. Pattern paper template. Okay. Now, the envelopes, just to recap, are 6 1/4 by 5 3/4. On the 6 1/4 inch side, you want to center it and score at 1 1/2 or 7 1/2 technically. So you put it in the center. 6 is the center of a scoreboard. Here, let me get a scoreboard out and I'll show you. So this is it centered on a scoreboard. So 6 is 0, and then it goes out to 3 1/8 on both sides. That's what those blue numbers are for. So you score at 7 1/2, okay? And then you move that 7 1/2 inch line to the 6 inch line and score at 8 7/8, at 8 7/8. And that gets you from score line to score line 2 7/8, but centered on the piece, okay? And then you just fold it over, and then you put it on the 5 3/4 inch side. You score at 5 1/4, and then use the punch board like I showed you. So it's not too terrible, guys. It's not too terrible to make these little pockets. All right. Hey, Donna. I'll have to watch the video and see how they turned out, because I haven't printed them yet. But she wanted to do it for like a 6x6 mini, right? She has a mini album she made for a 6x6 pads, I believe, if I am remembering correctly. Oh, she did print them. Okay, good. I'm just making a template here. And because I don't want to figure out what the center of something 2 5/8 is, I'm cheating, guys. I'm cheating. All right. All right, so this one I need the 1.5 inch punch for. All right, so what we're gonna do with this guy is I'm gonna keep around to just be a template, so we don't have to do all this measuring with these guys anymore. Okay. What do I have as far as announcements? Do I have any announcements? Oh, if you're Canadian and you wanted tin roofing caps, we now sell tin roofing caps again. I mean, you can buy them if you're American as well. I just want you guys to know that if you're American, or if you live in the US rather, the United States, or you have a United States shipping address, that it's going to be better to get them from Lowe's than it is to get them from us. So this is more just like for people who can't get them in reasonable quantities. So, and that's been a problem. My understanding is that it's a problem. The biggest place, the place where it's the biggest problem is Canada, as far as I know. No other country seems to have quite the trouble with the tin roofing caps as the poor Canadians. So I don't know if tin roofing caps are a controlled substance up there because they were snorting them or something. But it's definitely very difficult to get tin roofing caps if you're Canadian for some reason. Hopefully they're not a controlled substance. Or else me shipping them to Canada is going to be a real problem for me with the border and customs people. But yeah, so, you know, yes, you don't have to be Canadian to buy them. But if you're in the United States, get them from Lowe's. Okay, guys, get them from Lowe's. If you're in the U.S., get them from Lowe's. Get them from Lowe's. Because you can get a 5-pound box for like less than 20 bucks. And then you'll never have to buy them again as long as you live. You know, as long as you live. All right. So, Got our pattern paper template. I gotta clean my desk up a little bit because I do not know what is even going on. And I don't want to start gluing stuff to other stuff. Okay. Whew. My goodness, that was stressful. All right, here we go. So I need a piece of this that is 2 5/8. All righty. Two and 5/8 by 4 1/2. I don't know if I like the green. I thought I would like the green because it would tie in this, but I think it's too much green, guys. I think it's just too much of that color. So I'm going to cut off a 3/8 inch piece of it though to use on my little flap on the bottom. Things are going great today. Things are going great today. Which paper are we talking about? Sorry. They're talking about paper in the chat. Gotta know what paper it is. All right, so now we just need something in between. Okay, this piece isn't quite big enough, but this piece probably is. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and use this piece. Oh, you and Donna won happiness personified. Okay. That is a cute paper. It's very pretty. Cute's not really the right word. Are you stuck to my desk? Urgh. These papers are on my nerves today, man. What am I doing the first part of November? Well, we are starting probably the cruise album would be my guess as to what we're doing the first part of November for the Super Brag book, which now that my nail no longer looks like a horror movie garbage fire, I can start filming for that one again, start working on that one again. I'm really proud of the design on that one. It's gonna hold a ton of photos. It's made for photos. It's made for photos. And it's assembly line scrapbooking. And it's also kind of waterfall based, because you guys have been asking for me to use that waterfall I made for, like, I made a steampunk debutante album like the first time that paper was released. All right, there we go. Okay, so now this can get glued together. So we are going to do it. So but I'm putting panels on each page that will be just pattern paper or just decorating, so that we can still do fun stuff with paper, you know, make little scenes. It's kind of a mashup of, if you took the Catch a Tag album and you took the Something to Brag About album, and then you also took the waterfall from the Steampunk Debutante album I made, and if you put all three of those things together and you shook them up like in a martini shaker and you poured them out, the cocktail would be the Super Brag book. So was that helpful? Do you feel like that described it well enough? You guys can see it in your heads. We are going to do 2 books with it, because one, it can be bound landscape and it can be bound portrait. And so we're going to do the portrait version will be a cruise album with the Cruisin' paper by Simple Stories, because the portrait album, despite being called the portrait album, holds mostly landscape photos, and we thought you would take more landscape photos on a cruise than portrait. And then for the landscape version of it, which holds portraits mostly, we're going to do a school book with the Simple Stories Back to School. No, Echo Park Back to School. Echo Park Back to School. So we're going to do a school album and a cruise album. And I put the Simple Stories Cruisin' paper next to Remember the Magic, and I'll pull it up because I have it right here. I'll pull it up and I'll show you guys. So you can see it really quickly. This is, on the left is Simple Stories Cruisin'. That's a sheet from Simple Stories Cruisin' on the left. And on the right is a sheet from Remember the Magic by Paper Phenomenon. So the new collection that just came out. And you can see that the yellow's the same, the red's the same, the blue's very similar. So if you went on I call it the rat, what do we call it? The rat raft. If you went on a rat raft, so if you went on a Disney cruise, you can mix the Simple Stories Cruisin' paper with the Remember the Magic paper, even though Remember the Magic is not a Disney collection. Technically it's a theme park collection. But it works really well color-wise. As you can see right next to each other, they might as well be from the same collection. So they work so well together that you can mix them together. And I believe Cruisin' is a current collection in paper. So if you don't want to buy digital, if you like paper, then I think Simple Stories is current. The Simple Stories Cruisin' is current as of July, whatever. That's right, Rat Raft. See, I call the Rat Raft. So if you went on a Rat Raft for your cruise, if you went on the Rat Raft, then that's what you can do. You can mix them together because we did have some requests for specifically a Rat Raft cruise album. But then there were a bunch of other people who were like, no, I've never been on a Rat Raft, but I've been on a lot of cruises. So I'm going to do just vanilla cruise. Okay. So the one I'll be decorating in class will be just vanilla cruise. It'll just be a cruise. But if you want to use the paper I'm using, but you also want to add some rat elements to it, then you can use Remember the Magic. If you want to add some rat elements to your cruise album. Okay, guys, so this is going to go here to cover all our sins, see? So now it's like we planned the whole time for these pockets to be there. And like, this is how we were doing the album the whole time. Oh my gosh, it's so adorable. A genius made this book. That's what people will say when they see it. That's what people are going to say, guys. That's what they're going to say. So this whole episode is going to be me fixing what I did in the first 2 episodes. I don't think I'm going to make any forward motion. Though no progress will be made on the Christmas album in this episode. It'll just be fixing everything I did wrong the first 2 times. But that's really why people watch Kathryn Scraps, to figure out how to fix mistakes. Oops, I forgot to cut this paper before I stuck it down. Because I just needed to make more mistakes. Bye, Ella. All right, so knowing what not to do is more important most of the time. That's probably true. Glitter accidents. 'Cause 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 All right. So the reason I have to put pattern paper on the back of this is because it pokes up, you know, so it just, we need it to be cute when it pokes up. That's all. It's just the only need to do the top. It doesn't. All right, now I think it's ready to go in the book. Yep. Yep. Okay. Whew. It's been a real roller coaster, but we are on our way to having a complete page. Alright, so I'm going to put tape on a couple of the edges here where the tape got really removed. I'll just do the whole thing. Why not? Better safe than sorry. Although, as we learned earlier this morning when I was trying to pull this apart, Miracle Tape is very strong, and I may be using more of it than necessary because I couldn't even pry these pages apart with like all of my arm strength and a tool called a delaminator, which is specifically made for pulling pages apart from each other. So, I mean, I may be being overly cautious with the tape. Or we just say, well, then it's going to be fine with kids looking at it. Okay, so yay! We did it! We got our cute little guy on there. Of course, now we have to cover this mistake as well. The bandage is gone because I went to I did a bunch of research on nail places, and I went to the best rated nail place in my whole area. Like, people drive in from all over to go to this place to see if they could cut my other nails, you know, so that they would be so it would be short because I have to grow out that nail. And they wanted to see the nail and see if there was anything they could do with it. And they thought that they could clean it up a lot from what it was looking like and get it to a point where it wouldn't be so painful. And so I told them they could try. It did hurt. They hurt me twice, but they were trying very hard. I just think it was inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, but they only hurt me twice, which I was kind of amazed by. But it did hurt, but really only 2 times. And they were able to remove one whole chunk of the torn off part, but they couldn't get all of it because it was just still too far down. But they were able to get off a decent chunk of it. And then what they said they did is they took nail glue, which is the same as super glue, and it's the same as sterile surgical glue. It's all the same product. And so they glued all of the torn edges down so that the nail was flat again. And then over the top of the whole thing, they glued an acrylic tip, but they glued it to my my undamaged part of my nail. They glued it to the undamaged part of my nail. So it's glued kind of far down, but you know, that way it's not gonna come up. Anyway, so the whole thing took like 5 million years. 3 different people worked on the nail. A bunch of other people came by to look at it. But it's reduced the pain in my finger like 90%. It's like, it has completely changed my life. You know, I was getting really depressed thinking about dealing with that for another month and a half, 2 months, 3 months. And they were able to do a lot. So I think I'm going to go back there. I'm thinking every Friday. And have them take off the polish, check on it, trim off what they can trim off, and then put a new polish on it, you know. And we'll just keep doing that until it's all grown out. But like, it only hurts now if if something puts pressure on the tip of my finger, or if something puts pressure on the, like, down on the dome of the nail. And I think what was hurting me the most was that the floating pieces of nail, now that it's no longer hurting that much, I think that the floating pieces of nail were jabbing the torn up nail bed. I think that's what was hurting me. I'm not a nail scientist, guys. Okay, so I don't know for sure if that's what it was. But based on, you know, everything, that's my guess. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. Because, it was so nice to just go to bed. To just wash my hands and face and go to bed. And not have to deal with the whole rigmarole of the tape and the Band-Aid and the finger cot and all of that crap. So I'm happy. Alright, so I'm going to stick this here kind of as a cute little layer. So yeah, and if it starts to hurt, I'll go back right away and have them take a look at it, take it all off and take a look at it. But I hope it's going to be fine. Cuz it feels so much better. It feels so much better. Such a huge relief. Okay, so I want this glued at the top here. I think we need a little bit of foam tape. A little strip of foam tape. Because it's pretty thick here with the bag. So thank goodness. Ugh, no, Heather, it's horrible. Any damage to the nail bed is like, ugh. I told Mr. Lifeguard, I said, the nail bed is poorly designed. It's overly sensitive, and I don't know why it's like this. It doesn't need to be like this. I object. I object to the nail bed being like this. I want a new nail bed. And because I don't have to have a bright blue Band-Aid anymore, I can go back to filming. So I can start working on the next book. The Super Brag book, which will, well, that's not the next book, but All right, so we're going to pop that Jingle All the Way in there to kind of fill in the gap where the paper got torn. And then I'm going to put the candy cane on it. Oops, I put the Jingle All the Way a little too high. All right. Hello, Karen. All right, here's how I think I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to see if I can pull up this white paper just on the corner. Just so this white part won't show. If it's your first time joining me, today we are doing a repair job on an album that was assembled incorrectly. So all of the tips and tricks today are on how to cover your mistakes. I mean, assuming you make mistakes, I know a lot of you don't. Okay. All right, so hopefully I've now removed enough of that so that the corner, the corner is not going to be showing white anymore. Just basically, that's all that we need. So now we can stick this guy down. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, so just gonna prop this up here. And then stick this back here. Okay, so now that's covered. So we're gonna just burnish this. We got Jingle All the Way, candy cane. We got this cute little pocket here now that you can stick any small memorabilias in, or 2x3 photos or whatever. All right, holy moly. All right, we got the first bag, guys. We got the first bag repaired and on the book. So let's do a small round of applause. Okay. Whew. Deep breath. All right, let's get bag number 2. Where are you, bag numero dos? Guys, I lost bag number 2. That's amazing. How? Oh, there it is. Oh, my goodness. I was about to be like, Kathryn, this is a new achievement. You have lost an entire section of an album. Sorry, I dropped it behind my desk. All right, so here it is. Here's page number 2. All right, so this one, we need to repair this. So, okay, when you have fraying cardstock where layers of cardstock are coming apart, the way you fix that is with liquid glue. So very simple. And you can do this if the pattern paper, with pattern paper as well. If you know how sometimes the coating that is the layer that's printed starts peeling off the white, you can do this same, and then you get some glue underneath, and then you just burnish it with a bone folder, and then just kind of wipe up any excess, and now it's flat again. Okay, so that's fix number one right there. So now all we have to do is put some pattern paper on the back of this to cover, because you know it used to be sandwiched next to this piece, so they were back to back. So now we'll put a little pattern paper to cover that whole thing. And I'm going to use the green this green. I'm going to go ahead and just use this green because that'll tie it into this page right here, because these two are facing each other. Or they aren't right now, but they will be once I get it fixed. Okay. Hello. All right, so, oh, this piece is too small. I guess I should have checked first. Fine. So what I'm going to do really quickly here is I'll just use this piece. All right. And going to just get you in there. Get you in there. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. And all right, then we'll just trim it off. All right. Inking with brush corduroy. Brush corduroy is a good ink to use if you're doing an album that's very craft heavy. There's a lot of craft in the album. Okay. All right, that's good. So this is now good to go right here as soon as we pry the foot back open. So this is my delaminator, which I always tell people not to buy because it's very expensive, but it is useful for this, for getting in between papers and prying them apart. And there we are. Okay. Yeah, the delaminator, when you need the delaminator, you need the delaminator. It's so expensive, and I rarely use it because its tip is too flimsy to use for burnishing. But when you need it, guys. All right, so we're going to put tape on the two edges of the bag. Okay, so this is This is the foot of the bag or the base of the bag, and this is the gap between the foot of the bag and the main body of the bag. All right, so that's where the 2 tapes are going. And then we take this guy right here, and we're gonna put tape at the top and bottom of this flap. All right. And then we're gonna peel all 4 of these tapes and that'll be that. Okay. So peel these 2 front and back, and then peel these 2. And then I'm gonna stick this guy down and then wrap the foot over, and now everybody's contained. All right, everybody's in here. Okay, so now we just need to put our little bag, our little faux baggie like this guy right on here. Okay, so see, now we're getting repaired. Okay, we're in the repairing phase. So now we've got the 2 bags spaced out. So we just need to make another little tiny bag. Now I'm going to show you how you can adapt the 5x7 pinwheel to do things other than 5x7. You guys are like, oh, Kathryn, please don't do that, please. We just mastered the 5x7 pinwheel. Why would you hurt us like this? Why? Okay, so the 5x7 pinwheel, you can make any kind of pinwheel as long as the 2 measurements add up to 12. All right, so 5 plus 7 equals 12. Now, to make our pockets for this album, we need 5 3/4 inch by 6 1/4 inch cardstock. And what do those add up to? If you add them together, they add up to 12. Okay, so we can make a 5, instead of making a 5x7 pinwheel, we're gonna make a 5 3/4 inch by 6 1/4 inch pinwheel. So it's the same idea, whatever the smaller one is, in this case 5 3/4. Put the paper at 5 3/4 and then cut up to 5 3/4. Then turn it just once towards your left elbow, put it back at 5 3/4 and cut up to 5 3/4. Then turn it once towards your left elbow, put it back at 5 3/4 and cut up to 5 3/4. And another one comes off. Put it back at 5 3/4, cut all the way up. You get the last 2, and look at our scrap. This is probably the smallest one you can make. The only scrap that would be smaller is maybe 5 7/8 by 6 1/8. That's probably the only one. So there's our little baby scrap. And magically, all of these pieces are 5 3/4 by 6 1/4, which is the size we need to make the pockets for this album. Now, and you'll need 12 pockets total for this album. I'm going to put 4 together really quickly right here. So here's the thing. You can do any 2 dimensions that add up to 12. So 4 by 8, 6.5 by 5.5, whatever, okay? As long as they add up to 12. All right, so I'm gonna center the 6.25 inch side on the board. Once it's centered, score it at 7.5. All right, so this is the 6.25 inch side centered on the board and scored at 7.5. All right, then you're going to take all those pieces and turn them so that that score line you just made is on the left. Put them back in, put that score line at 6 and score at 8 7/8. So put that score line at 6 and score at 8 7/8. And if you're like, Kathryn, why are you doing this all like this instead of just telling me where to score? Because one of them has to be scored on the 16th is why, if you do it that way. Oh wait, no they don't. You could score at 1 5/8 and 4.5. Looks like. Looks like you can score at 1 5/8 and 4.5. There you go. So that's easier. Okay. So here's my template. So I'm going to write a note to myself about this. Okay, so it's 6 1/4 by 5 3/4 on the 6.25 inch side. Score at 1 5/8 and 4.5. And 4.5. And on the 5 3/4 inch side, this is easy. You score at 5 1/4. Okay, voila. And you can make 4 at a time just by doing an assembly line. Okay. All right, so then on all of them, you're going to cut out these 2 little skinny corner pieces. And when you cut these, make sure you remove the score line. Okay, so don't leave the score line. Cut so that the score line departs. And just do them in sets of 4 so you don't have to stop what you're doing and make a pocket every time you attach a bag, you know? Then this way you can do 4 bags, which is 8 pages with one stop. So, yeah, whenever you can assembly line. You know, put on your favorite show, or in this case, Christmas movie. All Then once you've got all of those corners cut out, we're gonna get the punch board out. And you're gonna center these lines in the punch and just cut the notch at the top of the line. And again, just do that on all of them. Okay. Then we need to fold along the score lines and burnish. And then punch these two with these bottom, round them. And you don't have to round these. I just think they're cuter round. That's why I do it. I think they look more bag-like. Okay, now, tape. All right. So, on all of these, we're going to run a line of tape along the left edge. Then flip them over and run a line of tape along the bottom edge of that flap. And then if this, you want to do the opposite one so that there's tape here and tape here. This one you run the tape on the top. Wait, no. You don't do that. You don't do that. Ah, come up, tape. Oof. Just kidding. This one, these two tapes you see. So one side goes on the inside and one side goes on the outside. That way when you fold them over, you can see, when you fold one over, you can see both of them. That's how you know you've done it right. If when you fold one over, you see both of them. Okay. All right. Okay. So just tape this guy, fold this one over and tape it. And then tape this one at the bottom. There we go. That's the routine. So tape this edge. Fold this one over and tape it. Tape this edge. Alrighty, so those are all taped now. So now what we need to do is we need to start trimming them into shape. So I'm going to line up the 2 notches that I cut with the punch board with the same line on my desk. Then I'm going to line a ruler up with that same line, and I'm going to cut in from the top edge to the notch, and then from the bottom notch to the bottom edge. And then that's how we're going to start getting this bag shape. Okay, last one. So you can see it can go pretty quickly when you're making bag after bag after bag. All right, there you go. So the last step is that these all need to get their circle notch. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the right hand side of the template, and I'm going to draw that one. Okay. On all 4 of them. So earlier in this video, I showed you how to make the notch. And if you're worried about having missed it, I have the DVR turned on, which means you can go back. Also, I will be uploading this as a YouTube video later today so that it will be on YouTube, and it will also be in the archives. So you'll have it all those different ways. Linda, I went to, I did a bunch of research on nail places, and I found the highest rated one near me. People like travel from outside the area to go to it because I wanted them to cut my other 9 nails to shorten them up and put a manicure on them so they'd at least look pretty cute while the damaged one was growing out. But they wanted to see it. They thought maybe they could help it look a little bit better, so I said okay. And they had 3 different people work on it, but and they like cut, they were able to cut a lot more of it off than the first time it had gotten looked at, or that when Mr. Lifeguard and I tried to trim it again later. After it had grown out for a week. And so, and the fact they were able to remove one of the damaged chunks. And then the parts they couldn't get off because they said they were just way too far down. There was no way. Those ones, they said, they glued them together back together with nail glue. So that okay guys, now we're gonna get this other edge. They glued them all back together with nail glue and then put an acrylic tip over it, and actually it helped a lot because now my nail, like you know, 9 of the 10 things that used to hurt it don't hurt it anymore. Like it's like 90% less pain. And so I think the pain was mainly being caused by the broken chunks of nail that were like shifting around and poking me in the damaged nail bed every time something bumped my nail or whatever. And now they're not anymore. They're all glued together, and they're glued to an acrylic tip that is glued to the undamaged part of my nail. So they're all stuck together now. So it's really good. It's so much better now. So I'm going to go every week and have them check on it. Oh, and if it starts to hurt at all, I'm going to go straight back over there. But I'm going to go and have them check on it, you know, each week, remove the polish, take a look at it, see if they can remove any more nail, that sort of thing. So we'll see, but hopefully it's not going to be terrible. Barbara, absolutely. Like Barbara says, it's amazing how your finger hurting affects your whole life. Ugh, it was awful. Awful. Like it's so much better. It's so much better. So that's good. Well, I can't get such a big punch in here, because the punch is wider than the envelope, unfortunately, because it's such a large size. So we had to do it this way, sadly. All right, everybody's good now. What about an SVG for these pieces? That's true. You could make an SVG if you were an SVG making person. Or you could suck up to Barbara. See if she'll do it for you. Yeah. This is a 1 3/4 inch. So, but yeah, if your punch will fit, go ahead. Do it, girl. Do it. Oh no, I used the wrong punch. I used the 1 3/4 inch punch instead of the 1. We're just gonna live with it. We're just gonna live with it. We're gonna live with it, guys. Ugh, do I want to live? Yeah, we're just gonna live with it. Ugh, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Because now our template for our pattern paper won't work. Our template for our pattern paper won't work. That is really annoying. That is really annoying. Because I need to use a 1/2 inch punch, 1 1/2 inch, and I used 1 3/4. Would it be easier to just make a new template with a 2-inch one? Yeah. These 4 will just have to have a 2-inch one. Yes. That's what we'll do. These 4 will just have to have a 2-inch one. So what we're going to do is kill me. I'll put it at the bottom of it. I'll put it at the bottom of it. That's annoying. That's annoying. That's what you get for putting it away. All right, so this is the 2-inch one. So down here, I'm going to write 2 inches. And up here, I'm going to write 1 3/4. So I know which size punch is on which side. All right. Okay. Problem solved, I guess. Okay. All right, so these dudes are all ready to go. So the only tape we're going to remove we're not going to remove any tape because we still need to put their liners, and it's easier to put their liners when they're not taped. Okay, so we need one of them. I did just blow a raspberry, yes. That was my general feelings on how this album is going, was a blown raspberry. So, yes, I spit at my album. Okay, so this one's going right here. So we just need a piece of pattern paper to line it, like kind of how this one has a cute little liner, and then the pattern paper that goes on the front and the pattern paper that goes on its little foot. Okay, so we just have to make sure that we're picking patterns that'll look cute. So, I think what we'll do is we'll use this for the front piece. So this one is 2 5/8 by, what is it? 2 5/8 by 4.5. 4.5. 2 5/8 by 4.5. The project that you work the hardest on, you love the most. Ugh. Well, if that's the case, then this album's going to be my favorite album I've ever done. But I already blew it a raspberry, so it's probably going to be a big jerk to me. All right, so I'm gonna eyeball this one where I need to cut it. I need to cut a tiny little sliver off it. Okay, so I'm gonna put this here. All right, and then what we'll do is I'm gonna cut a little strip of the red. Just a little 3/8 inch strip of it. off the bottom. And we're going to make that into the footer, the little footy. All right, so that's the head and the foot. And then this is the main squeeze. So where did I put the template? Here it is. Okay. So in addition to all right, let me just okay. All right, I think we got it. So we're gonna mark it, put tape. So we're gonna have tape. It's so humid, things are sticking to my desk. Yay, humidity. This album is really cute. I mean, I'm happy with it. It's just making me really struggle for every accomplishment. You know what I mean? Some albums are like that. Some albums, you whip them together, you're like, I'm a genius. Everyone will be amazed by me. And then some of them you're like, well, thanks a lot, album, for ruining my life for 6.5 months. And the album's like, that's the exact noise it makes. That's it, the exact noise. And so this is the liner that's going to go inside the album or inside the pocket so that what shows through the hole is cute. All right, so now we've got everybody taped. I'm going to trim any adhesive that's poking out the sides. Punch this one. All right. Ink everybody. Cute is essential. I mean, we don't want to make ugly books. That would be weird. All right. So now this guy will go in first. All right. Hey guys, looks like my mic battery finally died. I've been doing a lot more shows than normal plus recording, so I think that's what was going on. I have the room mic on right now while I replace the batteries really quickly, and then I'll be right back. This is what it used to be like in the olden days. I used to have to shout at you from across the room. All right, so I'm back over by the microphone. I'm just gonna scan for a channel on my mic to make sure I have the best one. C8, what a weird. Let's scan again. I normally am not in the group C, so let me just scan again because that seems crazy to me. C8 again. All right, fine, if you insist. All right, so my microphone should be working again. Let me switch mics. And I'm back. Does this sound like normal, my friends? My glitter gods and goddesses, my fellow glitter gods and goddesses. All right. Big difference between the two microphones, isn't it? Okie dokie. The other way reminds you of the old albums. Yeah. All right. Then we're... Oh, no. Don't stick this down. Oh, kill me. How about I just do everything wrong? Everything wrong. Okay. Put this paper down first. Yeah, I used to have to always shout if I walked away from my desk. But now the microphone goes with me wherever I go. But the downside of that is that it has to have a battery pack in order to go with me wherever it goes. And the batteries occasionally run out. So... All right. Past Kathryn also didn't change the batteries. But what can you do? All right. And now we have an adorable little pocket. Yay! So now we just have to put the tape on the back. And stick it in the book. And then we'll have recovered from the last class. So we'll be in the exact same position we were in at the end of the last class, having done pages 1 through 7. Only they'll actually be done properly. All right, so I'm going to put a line of tape at the top of this bag. We learned a lot. I should hope so. I feel like I learned a lot. Well, plus now we have these cute little bags in the book. Look like little candy bags. All right, there it is. Okay, so this is what the book looks like now. So to recap, when we started the class, we had too many fins on our structural spine. And we had too many fins on our structural spine because I had designed the book so that we would do one bag attached to each structural spine fin. And when I assembled them, I stuck 2 bags to each structural spine fin. So we had twice as many fins as we had bags. So our 2 options were to cut the structural and decorative spines in half, remove 3 fins from each side, glue it all back together somehow, and then keep going as we were, putting 2 bags on each fin, or to pull off the bags we'd already done, pull them apart and attach them to separate fins and keep going 1 bag per fin. We decided to go with the option of going removing the 2 bags, fixing any torn areas, and going forward 1 bag per fin, which I think was the right answer because you're going to have a lot more room in the book this way because it's going to be twice as thick. So you can jam more stuff into it. And I feel like with a December daily, because you don't always know what's going to happen every day, you want to have a lot of room to expand with stuff and whatnot. So I think this was the right way to go. Of course, we made even more mistakes as we went because why wouldn't we? But it's now. So now we're going to keep going with the odd side. But now when you open it, you know, you'll open it and you'll see 1. And then there'll be this little tiny, almost like a mini page, and then it'll have an envelope on the back, another envelope, and then 5/7. All right. So we've got 1, 3, mini flap, 5, 7. So we've still got to do, you know, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, and then all the even ones. So this book, I'm just going to toss out there that I don't think we're going to be done in July. But you know what? I'll keep going with it until it's done. Hopefully we'll be done by Thanksgiving. I'm sure we'll be done by Thanksgiving, guys. I mean, what could possibly go wrong at this point other than it literally bursting into flames and spontaneously combusting on a stream? Because don't get any ideas, album. Don't get any ideas. So I'll just spit the fire out. Nice. I'll just raspberry it until it goes away. I'll just raspberry the fire until it goes away. All right. So I'm going to save these templates for next time. Now you know how the bags are supposed to be attached to your books. So I know that was a concern that was brought up in class. Was okay. We have too many fins on our spines. And I was like, I don't think so. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, no, you guys are right. We do have too many fins on our spines. So you guys were right and I was wrong. Well, I wasn't wrong. Past Kathryn was wrong. As she often is, really, you know. As she often is. So this is what the cover will look like. Very cute. We'll decorate it more once it's more stuffed. But what would I do without you guys? I don't know. I'd probably have higher self-esteem because I wouldn't have my mistakes pointed out to me very often as they are. We're just here to keep you in check. All right, guys, I'll be back on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern USA time and 9 p.m. Eastern USA time. If you're wondering what time 2 p.m. Eastern USA time is right now is 2:19 Eastern USA time. So basically, whatever the hour is where you are right this minute, that's when I'll be back on Thursday. And we will be continuing well, no, not continuing. We'll be finishing the Flutter and Bloom album. We will be finishing the Flutter and Bloom album this week. So that's exciting stuff. And then we'll move on to Split Decision. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great afternoon and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye now.